Namaskar. I'm Mrs. Manjusha Kelkar, founder of FB page and community and many more things called as Breakthrough Higher Education. Here we guide medical students on their journey forward to whatever countries they wish to. In the series of interview, I have taken first interview of Soham Datar. He was in his second year BS. We had tracked his journey right from going into school in US, then how the atmosphere is like, and then how he entered BS, what it requires to enter into BS, and roughly what was his pre-med major, and we had tracked his journey till second year of BS. Now, further in the series, today we will be talking about Utkarsh Sharma. Now, he's a very bright student, as I understand, and as I was talking with him, and he is right now in his fourth year of BS. It will be very interesting to track his journey when he is appearing right now for different med school interviews. So, let me welcome Mr. Utkarsh Sharma. Hello, Utkarsh.
Hello, how are you?
Good morning to India and good evening to US.
Yeah, good morning to you.
Thank you. So, Utkarsh, I have introduced a little bit, but still, our viewers and myself would like to understand something more about you.
What would you like me to say?
How or when did you migrate to US? What it happened afterwards? Where did you come from? India? Which place you belong to, etc.
Yeah, of course. My family and I immigrated to the US when I was in third grade, the third standard. So that was
Mhm,
2007. Um, my family originally lived in a small town in Uttar Pradesh called Kosikala.
mhm,
Um, we immigrated here because my dad's job transferred here to a small city outside of Houston, Texas, called Baytown,
mhm,
Texas, and
mhm.
I began to attend Lorenzo de Silva Elementary School in November.
Okay. Mm. So after that, you did your 10th grade, then you did your 12th grade, and then you scored nicely. So when was that time when you decided that you would like to go for medicine? Because right now you haven't entered, as far as I know, because you are still giving your interviews. But yes, at the back of mind, at some point of time you must have thought that, and any incidents per se, any particularly any incidents whereby you thought about going to medicine, that yes, this is my calling.
No particular no particular incidents, but I know it
Hmm.
sounds cliche, but I've always liked to help people. But and I mean, combine that with science, and I think it's the perfect career for me. So it's just it's a place where I can use both my interest for science and
Hmm.
my wish to help others and combine them both.
Okay, so it's basically your love for science and trying to do something more to the people out there.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
the way forward. Apart from, say, science stream or science subjects, what else do you love?
Apart from just academia and research,
Mhm,
um, I obviously have a life outside of school, and I am an avid sports fan. I like sports of all kinds, basketball, tennis, anything.
mhm. Okay.
I like to watch movies from any era. I love music. I like to hike in and around the state parks in Texas. Um,
Mhm.
I just visited one recently. Let's see, what else can I tell you? I love to cook. Cooking is one of my biggest hobbies
Great. Mhm.
outside of school.
So you cook Indian dishes or you cook anything else, different cuisines.
I
You
think I
cook
can cook
Indian cuisine
anything.
as well.
I think I can cook
Okay,
anything.
great,
Yeah,
great.
yeah. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I like to cook. Yeah, that's
Great.
all I can
So,
really think of right now.
what is the highest peak that you have gone to during your hiking days?
Oh, hiking wise, I don't really do I don't
Mountaineering.
usually do elevation. I do
Okay.
distance.
Okay. Hmm.
The most I've ever hiked is about 8, 9 miles. So I think that's I don't know what that is in kilometers. I think around
Yeah,
15,
great.
16 kilometers. So
Yeah, good
yeah.
point. Hmm. Great, 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 great. So you entered your BS. You are right now in your fourth year of BS.
Yes.
So Soham, what journey or what are the hardships that you took? You went away from your home. You are living in an hostel for past 4 years to do your BS, or right now are you at your home and doing your schooling and university education?
No, I've done all of my pretty much all of my schooling in college outside of home. So
Okay.
I lived in apartments near the
Mm-hmm,
university ever since I
mm-hmm,
entered college.
mm-hmm. How is it like? Are you allowed to do any part-time jobs when you are doing your BS?
Yeah, of course, you're allowed to do part-time jobs. There's different types of part-time jobs, of course. If you want to work at the university, you have to gain special permission or you have to qualify for work study uh,
Okay.
things. But yeah, you're allowed to work. Of course, it just has to fit in your schedule and how much you think you can handle.
Okay, okay, okay. So, any one or two odd jobs you can just mention what you have done during your BS days?
Nothing paid. I haven't done any paid work, but I've done a lot of
Okay.
unpaid internships, and those are related to research. So I've done those, yeah, but nothing
Okay.
paid.
Okay. So, TAs and RAs, what are these two terms or concepts out there?
Yeah, of course. So TAs are teaching assistants,
Mm-hmm.
and RAs are research assistants. So TAs, you will find them most of the time in a classroom. So they're there
Mm-hmm.
to help the professor and assist the students with any of the
Mm-hmm.
coursework.
Okay.
Um, and they're paid by the university in some way. And then you
Mm-hmm.
have RAs, which are research
Mm-hmm.
assistants, and you find them usually in a professor's lab or an
Mm-hmm.
institution's lab, and
Mm-hmm.
they're performing research with either a mentor or some individual project on their own.
Okay, okay, okay. So it must be quite fulfilling when you do either RA or TA jobs, and that takes you for an institution fee. Is there any difference financially if you are an RA or a TA, or you
Um,
simply get paid for it?
yeah, you do get most of the time, I believe, you don't usually get paid for an RA position. It has to
Mm-hmm.
be you have to be a pretty good research assistant to be paid. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're a teaching assistant, you almost always get paid. But
Okay,
yeah, yeah, it's pretty fulfilling work.
okay. So now we will actually move on to your academic journey.
Mhm.
Um what happened in your first year BS and second year BS that already we have seen with Soham, but still you can a bit tell us about your personal journey when you are in second year and first year BS.
Um, I took I basically followed the plan that was laid out for me
Mm-hmm,
by my counselors or my guidance counselors here at the university, and
mm-hmm,
yeah, I just took the classes that were expected of me, and I took some classes that were obviously of interest to me, but I followed a general plan that the university provided for pre-med or pre-health students, and
okay,
yeah, that can be found. Most universities in the U.S. provide that for their students. So,
okay,
if anyone wants to know what that plan is, they can just look up whatever university they wish, and then add the pre med or pre health track to it.
okay, okay. So that's what it is called. So if someone wants to search on the internet, they must go to the university and then they must search for the pre-med or pre-med track.
Yeah,
Is that what you want to say?
yeah. The university obviously has its own recommendations for what you
Mm-hmm,
might want to take for if
mm-hmm,
you want to fulfill your pre med journey, but
mm-hmm.
you can also individually find those out on your own by just looking up what med schools require. So if you go to a medical school that you really, if you go and search up a medical school that you really would like to attend, somewhere on their admissions page, they usually have a list of classes that an applicant must take before applying or before entering med school. So if you just fulfill all those requirements, you should be good to go.
Mhm. Okay, so that is called as prerequisites, if I'm
Yeah, those are your prerequisites for medical school.
the,
Without those, you
uh,
cannot enter medical school.
then afterwards, when did you decide or when did you start your preparation for your MCATs?
So I started my preparations from, well, I did it a little bit differently. A lot of
Okay.
medical students like to take, well, a lot of pre-medical students like to take the MCAT the summer of their second year.
Mm-hmm.
I decided that I wanted to take an additional class before I did that. So I waited to take a biochemistry class before I did that. So I started studying the summer of my second year, and I
Mm-hmm.
studied that summer, I studied that fall, and then
Mm-hmm.
I was prepared to take it March of my third year. But because
March
of
of.
COVID, it was delayed indefinitely until I believe May, and then I
Mm-hmm.
had another chance to take it in May, but because
Mm-hmm.
of coronavirus rising again in the state, it was canceled again, and then I finally took it in June of 2019.
2019 June you
No,
appeared for
sorry,
your MCAT.
of June of 2020. Sorry, yes.
Okay, June of 2020 you appeared for it. Finally, you could appear for your MCATs.
Yeah, so after a long delay, yeah, yeah.
So, what is your score for MCAT?
Yeah, my score was a 518.
518,
Mhm.
and you are scored out of how much? What's the max you can get?
We're scored out of a 528, and they usually say anything above a 510 is a pretty
It's a
good
good.
score. My goal was to get something above a 520, but uh, because this was my first time taking it, that was the score I got. And if I had a chance to take it again, maybe I would have taken it again. But I just didn't have the time, so I was happy with the 518.
Great, but according to me, it's a great score. Congratulations to you for that score, achieving
Thank
that
you.
score, because only 10 marks. So, so
Well,
it's
10
a
marks,
pretty.
yeah, 10 marks on the MCAT are pretty difficult to achieve. It took me a
True.
while to even move from uh, a move from a 510 to a 514. That it took a lot of
Mhm.
studying and a lot of preparation. Each mark is a lot of work. So uh, those 10 marks, uh, those 10 marks are a lot of
Yes,
work. Yeah,
a lot of hard work you have put in,
yeah,
because to reach till 10 mark did it naturally and normally, but to exceed that or to get that extra 10 marks you must have worked pretty hard to achieve that score.
yeah.
So
If you want a 528, it's very difficult. You have to
it's
pretty
very,
much know everything and get
yeah,
very lucky. Yeah.
true, very true. You must be happy, your family must be happy. What exactly is the structure of MCAT?
Yeah, so there are four sections to the MCAT.
Mhm.
First, you have your chemistry and physics section. Then you have something called CARS, which is critical analysis and reasoning skills. And
Mhm.
then you have a lunch break, and then you have your biology and biochemistry
Mhm.
section, and then finally you have your behavioral sciences section, which is your psychology, your sociology, that sort of thing. But those are the general outlines for each section, but each subject can appear in each section. So you can get a chemistry question in the behavioral sciences if it
Mhm.
if it is related to it. So they might
Mm.
ask about like an antidepressant drug in the behavioral
Mm.
sciences section that has to do with chemistry.
Mhm. Okay. So that is pretty what it goes to prepare for MCAT and everything. Now, moving forward, what happens next?
Yeah, of course.
You got it. Means I just wanted to understand the timeline, the preparation which goes behind before you appear or before you
Mhm.
even apply for your med schools. What are the documentations that you have to make a bunch of, or you have to forward, or something like that? And so, what it goes or how it happens?
Yeah, so there's two ways to apply for a medical school in the States.
Mm-hmm.
Well, depends on where you want to go. If you want to go somewhere in Texas, you have to
Mm-hmm.
do the Texas State's Texas has its own application, so you'll have to do that. It's called TMD-SAS. If you want to
Mm-hmm.
go to any other med school in America, you have to do another application, which is called the AMCAS.
Oh.
So I did both. I did
Mm-hmm.
TMD SAS and AMCAS. So the general things that you need for both are a um a list of every activity that you've done.
Mm-hmm.
You need a personal statement that shows why you want to go to medical school and what you hope to achieve. You
Mm-hmm.
need recommendation letters from professors or mentors, and you need to have taken the MCAT. So those are like the general outlines for those are the general requirements for each application. But each application obviously has its own nuances and different things. So
Mm-hmm.
for TMDSAS, I had to write 3 essays, and for AMCAS, I only had to write 1 essay. Um, and these essays are very different than what you think about when you think of an essay. I mean, there's a prompt, but this
Mm-hmm.
is you're writing about yourself and you're writing about your own life experiences. So it's very different from an essay that you might write in class. Um,
Okay.
and then for AMCAS, you only had 1 essay. But yeah,
Okay.
those are the two applications.
You are putting in. Okay.
Yeah.
How does your when you are writing your essay, how does it help to do have done either volunteering work or a research work? How does it help? Because it must gain a work experience or a life
Mhm.
experience for you. So can you put it down into your essay, or how does it go?
Yeah, of course. I think it's great to have done volunteer work or research or whatever you're passionate about before you write one of those essays, because one of the main techniques that they tell you you should focus on when you're writing these types of essays is called show, don't tell. So what that means is if
Oh.
the essay asks you, for example, why are you a great leader? You can't just write
Hmm.
2 paragraphs saying, I'm a great
Hmm.
leader
Hmm. Hmm.
because of this, because I think I can do that, or because I've done this.
Hmm. Hmm.
No, you need
Hmm.
to be able to draw on your experiences and
Hmm.
show the
Hmm.
school
Hmm.
why you
Hmm.
think you're a good leader. So this is where you talk about things like, oh, I was part of this organization, I organized this
Hmm.
volunteer program, and I helped raise so and so much money for this organization. That sort of thing. That's what
Hmm.
you're going to write about in the application. Or you write about uh, I was the lead. I was the lead intern on a project, and this is how it went, and this is how I led my team to a poster presentation or something like that. So those experiences are really helpful to elaborate upon and show the admissions committee what you've done in your college coursework.
Great, great, great insight. Because when people think about writing essays, they think that, oh, I
Hmm.
have to simply write it. It's
Yeah.
not that you are writing it, you are showcasing, and
Hmm.
it's a true experience which you are putting out there. Means
Yeah.
you have done and that you are only writing. It's not only.
Yeah.
So it was a great tip for students out there, because it's very important from my part, because when we ask students to write an essay, it's they feel that it's language testing. It's not language testing. It's not
Yeah.
like how good English you write. It's not a
Yeah.
language testing thing.
Yeah.
It's more of a experiential thing. What you
Yeah.
have experienced out there, just put it down into some few words so that we can understand what you actually have done.
Hmm.
That's what you have put down there from a student perspective, and it was very great as far as I go. So, what next?
So yeah,
Means, what
after
is the next
you
step? You how you generate, and one more crucial or a curious question: how do you generate LORs, or how you should be attached, or you should be in line with your professor to get good LORs, and what it takes to get good LORs?
Yeah, so a good letter of recommendation comes from how good your relationship is with whoever you're asking a recommendation letter from. So
Mm-hmm.
you want to ask recommendation letters from professors who maybe you've taken multiple classes with them, you've helped them maybe in the class somehow, or you've worked in their lab or something like that. Or you want to
Mm-hmm.
ask for recommendation letters from mentors who you've had a great connection with. So
Mm-hmm.
the professors and mentors that I chose as my recommendation letter writers were professors that I truly felt I had a connection with. I had good engagement with them. I spoke a lot in their classes. I engaged in discussions. I went to office hours. I spoke with them outside of class. I took multiple classes with them, and then the mentors that I asked recommendation letters from were mentors that I worked with for 2 summers for a very lengthy time. So yeah, it good letter recommendations have a foundation in good relationships. So you have to
True.
build up your relationships with professors and find a real connection with them. So I recommend doing that from the first day that you get into college. So if you really like a professor, go to
Mm-hmm.
their office hours, go talk to them outside of class, ask for help if you need it. Engage with them outside of class. So if they need help with anything, ask them. Like if they ask for a volunteer in class, go be that volunteer. If they ask a question in class, raise your hand even if you're wrong. So yeah, that's how you build a good relationship. You don't always have to be the teacher's pet. You just have to be someone who's interested in whatever that professor may be teaching. So yeah, so good relationships lead to good recommendation letters.
Good. And what role does it play when you are talking about good rapport with your professors? Then
Mhm.
what is it like when you said that outside class also you have to build a rapport? So how does it affect when you have a personal rapport thing? Means personal common interest type of a thing.
Yeah,
Like you love music, he loves music, or she loves music. Then
yeah.
that also adds up to the relationship or the whatever you are having a common not goal but common interest area.
Yeah, of course, it helps. That helps you build a good relationship with the professor, of course. But at the end of the day, the professor has to know what your career goals are. So you might want to discuss that with them. Tell them, hey, in a few years, I'm going to be applying to medical school, and I just want you to know that I'm a very ambitious person, and I really want to succeed in your class, that sort of thing. And that just lets them know that
Got it.
this person really cares about the class, and they're going to do whatever it takes to succeed. So that really helps later on whenever you ask for recommendation letters. Because if you're the type of person who makes really good grades, who passes all the tests with hundreds, but you don't go and talk to the professor, it doesn't matter because at the end, when you ask for a recommendation letter, that professor will reply back, "Who are you?" You know, that professor doesn't know your name. You have to go and talk to them.
Mhm.
So it doesn't
Mm.
matter how good your grades are. You just have to go and build a relationship with whoever you want recommendation letters from.
So, what is your best or the most favorite subject? I won't ask if you can answer the name of the professor, I don't mind. But which is your favorite subject?
My favorite subject is my major, biology. I love any biology class that I've taken at the university.
So, how you decided on your major and which sub branch of biology you are doing your major in?
Yeah, I like biology just because I mean, it's a huge science, of course, but it's just a very interesting science. Life sciences. I've always been interested in the life sciences since I started watching the Discovery Channel when I was a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but beyond that, I chose human biology because I thought it would really set me up for a career in medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, that's why I chose my minor. But other than that, I really have an interest outside of biology. I have really interest. My second favorite class is for sure any sociology class that I've taken
Oh,
at.
Great.
University of Texas. So my minor is actually sociology, and I really think that's helped me even more than my major because a lot of people do biology. Tons and tons of
Mm-hmm.
medical students do biology as their major, but not very many do a minor in sociology. Sociology as a minor, I feel like has really helped me learn about a different side of medicine. So, yeah, those are my majors and minors.
Mm-hmm. How many branches of biology you can major in?
You can only major in one, I believe, unless you decide to double major. But they don't let you double major in another biology because it doesn't really make sense. You only need a few different classes if you,
Mm-hmm.
because I believe what sets me apart from another branch of biology is just like maybe two or three classes. So that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't it you can't really major, for example, in human biology and cell biology because you only need the difference between the two is only two or three classes.
Very minor difference. Yeah.
Yeah, so they don't let you do that. But you can double major in, for example, something like chemistry and biology if you want.
Mm-hmm. So it was interesting. But how many types of biologies you have there out there to major, to choose from?
I think we
It's like
have
cell biology and microbiology and
Yeah,
what else?
I think we have about 10. I don't know all of them from the top of my head, but I think we have about 10. We have like teaching biology, that's if you want to go into education. We have normal biology, cell biology, microbiology, human
Great.
biology, but
Mhm.
I don't remember the rest.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
okay. So that's what I want to portray or tell people that even in biology, you have got 10 different fields to major in. It's
yeah,
not
of course,
only
of course.
a comprehensive thing like biology. You can
Yeah,
have 10 different things to major. Like, and interesting thing you told me today was teaching biology. I didn't know that there is a different major called teaching biology. But
yeah, you can, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But
If
if you
you if
want to
you
go into teaching field, you are interested in going to teaching field,
mhm.
then you can take a teaching biology.
Yeah,
So,
and then along with that major, you also get your teaching certification, so you can
okay.
immediately enter the workforce if you decide to do that.
So many people must be taking that stream also,
Yeah,
because
some people.
some I know some people who have worked for 2 3 years after BS and then enter into a medical stream.
Yeah,
So
of course.
people do that also.
Yeah, a lot of people do that. I believe the average age for a medical student is actually closer to 24. The average age for a
Hmm.
incoming medical student is actually 24 years of age because a lot of people take what's called a gap year. So after they graduate from BS, they'll just do something else for a year. Either they'll volunteer or they'll research or do something else, and then they'll apply to medical school or they'll apply to medical school after entering the workforce for a bit. But a lot of people actually do something else. Yeah, like you were saying.
Okay. So, along with 518 MCAT score, what else? What is your GPA? Because, and for how many years the GPA is calculated before you apply? Because you are right now in fourth year. So,
Mhm.
you don't have a fourth year GPA with you, right? So, first
Uh,
3 years GPA is calculated, only biology GPA is calculated, overall GPA. So, how you portray your GPA when you apply for your applications? Or
Yeah, so yeah, of course. There's two types of GPAs when you're applying to medical school. There's your science GPA and your cumulative GPA.
Mhm.
Cumulative means combined everything, like science and non-science courses. But yeah, those are extremely important factors to differentiate you from other applicants because that's a quick difference. So, for example, if someone has a 4.0, someone has a 3.0, that's a very easy choice for the
Mm.
medical school. Unless, of course, the 3.0 person has some great qualities that the 4.0 doesn't. It's a very
Mhm.
easy decision for the med school admissions committee to make because obviously they're going to choose the 4.0 person over the 3.0 person. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a very easy determining factor. So you have to have a high GPA when you apply. Um, yeah, so those are the two types of GPAs and extremely important
So
to
first
applying.
three, you before application, you have got 3 years of GPA, 3 years of BS GPA.
Yeah,
So
you
you
have
take this GPA, you take all your documentations, you have your essays, you have your LORs, and then
Yeah.
this bunch you apply. You start your applications.
Yeah. Yeah. You have your GPA, you have your MCAT, you have your volunteer experiences or work and activity experiences, you have your essays. Yeah. All of that. Yeah.
So, you have done volunteering work, you have done shadowing. Now,
Mhm.
please, I would like to understand more about shadowing. What exactly is shadowing?
So shadowing is just you just want to get a feel for how a physician operates. So basically, you uh, how you enter shadowing is there's various ways. Some hospitals have an official shadowing program where you can
Mhm,
apply and they'll consider your application and they'll either accept you or deny you. Or you
mm,
can do what a lot of medical students do is they find a doctor that they really, really like and they
mm,
just email them or they contact them in some way and say, hey, hey, I really like your work. I really like your field. Would it be okay if I shadowed you for a certain amount of time? Um,
mhm,
that's what I did. I shadowed a interventional cardiologist in my
mhm,
hometown. I shadowed him for a considerable amount of time, and
mhm,
what I basically did was, whenever the doctor was about to enter a room, I would just follow him with my notebook and my pen, and the doctor would introduce me to the patient, say, "Hello, this is Utkarsh Sharma. He's a pre-med student. He's just here to learn more about what it is to be like a doctor, and please don't worry, he won't be engaged in our discussion today because obviously I can't talk in that room and
mhm,
yeah, so that's basically all you're doing in shadowing. You're just observing whatever the doctor does. You're not participating in anything. You're not talking to the patient. You're not making any suggestions. You basically don't speak while the doctor is talking to the patient. But
mhm,
yeah, in between patients, of course, you can talk to the doctor about, hey, why did you recommend this medicine over that medicine? Or how did you know it was this and not that? What tests would you be recommending? That sort of thing. It really depends on the physician that you're shadowing, the level of exposure that you're going to get. So if you have a physician who's a little bit more experienced, who knows who has had people shadow him before or her before, they might let that student do a lot more. So, for example, the physician that I shadowed was very experienced. So he let me follow him into almost any patient interaction. He let me watch any surgery he was doing. So that was a great experience. But other physicians might not let you do that. They may only let you have a limited amount of exposure to whatever they may be doing. So it just
mhm.
depends on the physician.
Great. So that means you beforehand come to know, and this may be a deciding factor. That I usually tell my students that it is different to do a course and it is different to do a career, because you can study. If you are intelligent, you can do a course, you can study. But what it takes to perform as a doctor, you must understand
Mhm.
that first. And if you love that what a doctor does or what a doctor performs, then you go and study the course. Means this may be a very good deciding factor when you are trying to pursue any career, for that matter,
Yeah.
not only medicine, any career out there, because it is very important to understand what is a performance part involved. Because when you are talking about your career, you are going to do that for almost 30, 35, 40 years of your life.
Mhm.
So you better take a very good take on it and choose it wisely, so that this shadowing part plays a very important role, which is absent in Indian societies right now. Because our students are not doing any shadowing experiences, they are entering into the med school based only on the percentage or the marks they are getting. So
Yeah, I
whether
absolutely
you
agree.
are, yeah, whether you are really passionate about the career, because
Mhm.
then you understand that how many long hours the physician is putting
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
His priorities are his patients first, and maybe second priority is family. It may
Mhm.
reversal role may happen, but a majority of the times when he is in the hospital, his first priorities are his patients. So
Yeah, of
his
course.
family also has to be very supportive with the physicians.
Yeah, of
So
course.
what would you
The
like to
physician,
say?
the physician that I shadowed was nearly 72 years at the time, and he was on call, I believe, 2 nights every week. His day started at 7:30 in the morning, and it would end sometime at 6 p.m. or 5 p.m. So he had long days, and he was 72, so he was still doing that. But
Mhm.
yeah, like you were saying, it really is a great deciding factor if you want to enter healthcare or not, because there you get to see, hey, am I really passionate about this? Will I really want to do this as a career? Because had I not been exposed, I may feel different now. But because of a
Mhm.
great shadowing experience, I just knew that it just really affirmed for me that medicine was the career that I want to do in the future.
Mhm. Great, great, great. So this shadowing I really love, and out there I will ask everyone out there, whosoever is watching, that please do your shadowing before you decide upon your career path. To
Yeah.
whatever career you are choosing, it's not only about medicine. It's equally true with your art. It's equally true if you want to be a painter, because different careers require different skill sets.
Mm.
Suppose a person wants to be a pilot, he must be ready to get up in the morning at 2 fresh to fly. That's also a skill set. You just cannot say that
Yeah.
I'm feeling sleepy because you're driving a plane out there. So, so that's the thing everyone must do. I think the shadowing part is very great
Yeah.
out there. That's the major difference I have observed between the choice of candidates for medicine in India and US.
Hmm.
That's the major thing, because here, only based on the marks, you're just going into the medicine field.
Yeah.
Okay. What happens next? Means you have applied. Now, at the stage where we are standing, I think what we have done, we have collected all the documents, we have done the shadowing, you have put it down into the piece of paper that you have done shadowing, you have done volunteering experiences, you have done some research. Yes, I forgot to ask you, what are your research experiences?
Yeah, I have 3 or 4 research experiences. My longest one was at the Baylor College of Medicine, where I worked with where I worked with 2 great mentors, a psychiatrist and a neurologist, and
Mm-hmm.
we were basically trying to discover not discover, but we were studying the effects of PTSD on hippocampal volume and sleep quality. So what we found was that what treatment response to PTSD. Sorry. So what we found was that treatment non-responders in PTSD therapy had lower hippocampal volume. So their hippocampus was actually reduced, and they had worse sleep quality than treatment responders. So it was a very interesting research. That was my lengthiest research experience. I did that for roughly 2 summers, and I believe
Mm-hmm.
it ended up being more than 500 hours of research. So it was a great research experience.
Great.
Other than that, I did a research project here at UT. We were trying to see the effects of trauma on Mexican American children, and yeah, that was a great research experience as well. I got some exposure to data software through that.
Okay.
That was
Mm-hmm.
about 120 something hours, I believe. And then on top of that, I did another research experience that I just wanted to do. I thought it would be fun. I worked with African chichlid fish. So what I would do is I would just observe their movement uh, for hours and hours, really. I think there were 4-hour videos nearly, and I would just write down their behavior, what they did, that sort of thing, and measure different parts of their body. So yeah,
Okay.
I've had various research experiences, but research is another good way to see if you want
Mm-hmm.
to enter medicine or clinical research or academia, because you might really like the sciences, like you were saying, you might really like the sciences, but you might not like healthcare. And that's okay, because then there is a path for you. You can enter, you can be a research technician, you can work in research labs, you can go on to get your PhD, you could enter academia. There are other paths for you if you just like science. You don't have to go into
Mm-hmm.
medicine. Um, but those again demonstrate your love for science, so they're great to have on your application.
Great. So shadowing tells you whether you are meant for healthcare or
Hmm.
especially a physician path,
Yeah.
and sciences and the research work tells you if not healthcare, then can I go for research?
Yeah, of course. But that doesn't mean that you can't go into healthcare. A lot of
Yes.
some applicants, of course, don't have any research experience just because they don't like research, and that's okay. I know of some people who don't have any research experience, but they got into great med school. So it just really depends on other things.
Other things also.
Yeah.
What does that means? At the end of the day, your passion pays.
Yeah, of course, of course.
You
Yeah,
should be able to reflect that you are really passionate about med school.
yeah.
Whether or not you have done research or anything else or not, doesn't matter that much as far as you are portraying that you are really passionate about what you want to enter into.
Yeah,
Correct?
yeah. That's a really important thing because a lot of med schools now evaluate applicants through a mission fit. It's called a mission fit approach. So what that means is that these are usually newer med schools that have that are trying to do something different than traditional med schools. So these med schools have a clear mission, so what they're trying to accomplish basically, and they evaluate applicants on how well you fit their mission. So
Oh,
certain med schools now evaluate applicants like that, and that's totally different from the traditional approach. So you really have to demonstrate your passion for medicine and your passion to help others in it for those type of med schools.
okay. So everyone is trying to design their own criterias for selection of
Yeah.
med school applicants.
Hmm.
Uh, some are going traditional way, some are going non-traditional way. So
Yeah.
something different. How you can still bring more on the plate for the medicine.
Yeah.
That's what maybe some people maybe are trying out
Hmm.
there. So how many med schools you applied, and when
I
did you
applied.
start your application?
Yeah. So there is a set timeline for
Mhm,
how and when you should apply to med schools, and that's that's the timeline that everyone usually follows, and you can find that timeline anywhere on the internet. You just search up med school application timeline, and it will show up. But because of the COVID-19 pandemic, everything was basically scrapped and a new timeline had to be made. Um, I believe they pushed everything about a month or 2 months back. So
mhm,
the application opened up a month later, they were transmitted a month later, the deadline was a month later. Everything has pretty much been moved back a month. Um, yeah,
mhm.
so I had
So
to
this year,
adjust.
I will just skip this year. What happened
Mhm.
because it is something very much different. World
Yeah.
has never experienced this type of a thing. So, but in the natural circumstances, a person applies in third year BS.
Yeah, they apply at the end of their third year. So I believe around May the applications begin to open up. The TMDSAS application at least opens up.
Mhm,
The AMCAS opens up a little bit later, but
mhm,
uh, they open up and you can start working on them immediately. And I think a month later they begin to be transmitted. So what that means is uh, they the people who are responsible for the application basically look at everyone who's completed their application and then they begin
mhm,
to send them to all the med schools. And
mhm,
as soon as June through December is the
mhm,
traditional interview period. So that's
mhm,
when schools will reach out to each applicant, well, reach out to certain applicants that they like, and offer them an interview. And
mhm,
you interview the school, and then
mhm,
you go from there. But after the interview period, it's the acceptance period. Schools offer acceptances to students that they really, really like, and then yeah, you're either in or you're not. But before I move on to something else, I would just like to tell you that TMDSAS, so Texas Med Schools, have a totally different thing from all the other American schools. So it's a little bit different for Texas Med Schools.
Okay, okay, okay. So, Utkarsh, you must have now. how many schools you apply? That's what my question was. So you said these two things, and then you are being called for an interview. How does that step happen? Means yeah, they declare that you are selected and please come and appear for an interview, or is it a necessary step, or everyone has to appear for interview? It is compulsory, or how it goes about?
Well, schools receive, I believe, somewhere upwards of 5,000 applications. And they usually only have, on average, about 200 seats. So what they do is, out of that 5,000 applications, they choose about 1,000 to interview. And then
Mhm.
out of that 1,000, they will offer acceptances to roughly, let's say, 400 applicants. Because
Okay.
out of those 400, of course, some of those will decide not to go to that med school. They'll go to another med schools. So
Mhm.
they have to accept more than they can take. Because
Mhm.
if those applicants decide not to go, then those schools won't have enough kids. But
Mhm.
yeah, so out of those, if you're selected to be one of those 1,000 students who's interviewed, then you usually will travel to that med school. Well, first you accept that offer for the interview. You schedule a date on which
Mhm.
you would like to be interviewed, and then
Okay.
you usually, not this year, you travel to that med school. You
Mhm.
stay in a hotel or for something for one night, and then the next day you attend the interview day. So what I
Mhm.
mean by the interview day is that early in the morning you have the introductions. So the dean of admissions usually speaks to everyone who's interviewing that day. The dean of the school can also be there and give a presentation, but then they
Mhm.
tell you all the great things about the school. They will discuss the curriculum of the school. Um, Professors will speak, maybe students will speak, students at that med school will speak, and then then you'll go and have your interview. Have your interview with either a doctor there, or you'll have an interview with a student there. Um, After your interview, you have a few more presentations, and then you're free to leave or do whatever you'd like. And that's what usually happens. Obviously, this year it was all virtual.
True, 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 true. So this year everything happened virtually. But
Yes,
other which wise, that means what? That every college or every university tries to showcase them so that good kids enter.
yeah, of course. Schools want to show applicants that they're the best med school, and that you
Mm.
should come here, because ev- even though the student may not even be selected for that med school, that student will go back to their hometown and they will tell other people about how great of a med school this is. So, I mean, yeah, it's just a publicity move on the med school, but
Mhm.
um, a lot of these schools usually have something very good to show. So
Yes,
obviously
yes.
they're going to tell them about it.
That's what I just wanted to portray. It's not only that schools select students, it's like students also selecting a university.
Yeah,
Because if a is getting two or three admits, then
yeah,
he can select based on what he has seen during the interview, that with respect to these three, which he would choose for.
yeah. Of course.
So I would go
During.
from the university to showcase what they are doing out there. So
Mhm,
maybe you are
mhm.
interested in someone must be interested in a research topic in, say, for example, in oncology, and that particular university is offering that. The
Yeah,
person may choose over, irrespective of the university ranking or something like that. The person may choose that particular university.
yeah, yeah. Of course.
So that's a very good move.
Yeah,
I feel. Yeah.
the dean of admissions at one of my interviews told us exactly that. She said, "Today, we're not only evaluating you; you are also evaluating us. You want to see how great of a med school we are, and we want to see how great of a med school applicant you are." So it goes both
Mhm.
ways. It goes both
It
ways.
goes both ways. It goes both ways. So, what happens like in the interview? Actually, per se, when you interact with the doctor for interview per se, you have gone to
Mhm,
the med school, they have presented your alumni or your senior fellow, who
mhm.
maybe if you enter there, they may be your seniors, they have presented. Then, is it one on one when you go to interview per se? That what is it?
Well,
that?
there's different types of interviews. There's obviously you can have your one-on-ones, or you may have a committee interview, or you may have a MMI. I'm not really familiar with the MMI, but I can tell you that it's very situational. So what they basically do is that they'll show you a situation, and then they'll ask you, what would you do in this situation? That sort of thing.
Okay, okay.
You can have a committee interview. A committee interview is usually 3 or 4 people, or
Mhm.
it can just be two. But then you have your one-on-one interviews, and all the interviews I've had up to now have been one-on-one interviews. You just interview face to face with either a faculty member or a student.
Okay, okay. So, what was your experience? You recently, before scheduling your interview, we were
Yeah.
talking. So, you were busy in your mid school interviews. So, what was
Hmm.
your personal experience, if you would like to share?
Yeah. I found that there are two types of interviews. There's the very basic question and answer type of interview, and then there's the more conversational interview. And I guess I'll start with the first one. So the basic question and answer is uh, your interviewer poses a question, you answer it, and you have a small discussion about it, but not very long. And then the interviewer moves on to the next question, and then the next
Mhm,
question, and the next question. That's the basic approach. And
mhm,
personally, I hate those interviews because they don't they don't allow me to control the conversation. That's just the type of interviewee I am, I suppose. They don't
mhm,
allow me to control the conversation, and they don't allow me to talk more about stuff that I'd like to talk about. The second type of interview I've noticed is the conversational interview. And what I mean by that is uh, the person will pose a question, and then you'll answer it, and then they'll say something about your answer, and then you'll say something about what they said, and you just have a lengthy discussion about it. And I think those are the best interviews because uh, simple I mean, like, questions lead to very great conversations. So I like
true.
those interviews more. You can really talk about stuff that you really like to do or really have done in the past, and those are, to me, the best type of interviews.
Good, great. So, how many interviews you have appeared for till date?
Yeah, I've done 4 interviews. I just received a fifth one today, so I'm gonna be doing that in a few weeks.
Great, 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 great. And then after all this is over, or while this is going on, you are
Mhm.
parallelly attending your BS final year also.
Yeah, actually tomorrow classes start, so that'll be interesting to do both at the
Mm-hmm.
same time.
Both the things.
But I've been
And
doing it for the past 4 months, so it doesn't really, yeah,
mhm.
I'll be okay.
So you will be trying to score maximum GPA, or then does it matter actually to score very handsomely? Because when once you are selected in a med school, how what will be your approach, or usually what people do after they are selected to their final year GPAs?
Um, I can't really attest to what other people do, but I would assume that most people usually slack off. They relax, they take it easy. But for me, I don't really care about the grade as much as my drive in class. And what I mean by that is, like, um it it,
Yeah,
it doesn't
really
sound good, but
interested.
yeah, it doesn't really sound good to say, but the achieving a grade is my motivation for doing work. So yes, I'm interested in the work that I'm doing, of course, but the grade is a great it
That's
helps.
a
It's a good.
motivational factor for you. That's a
Yeah, yeah,
motivational factor for you,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah. So it helps me do everything. So that's
Perfect.
usually what I do.
Because everyone has got a different motivational factors,
Yeah,
and your personal motivational factor is your grade. So,
yeah.
what is your GPA right now, Utkarsh?
So right now, a cumulative GPA 4.0, and then a science GPA 4.0.
Wow. So that shows as well, as you said, rightly said in your essay, that you have to show. So
Yeah.
when you say that grade is your motivation, you're showing that also. That means
Yeah,
you
it's
are.
it's I mean, it's not a great motivation because you shouldn't talk about that in your med school application. That should not be your motivation for getting good grades. But that's my motivation. That's why I like to do it. It works for some people. It doesn't work for other people.
Yeah, it's perfectly all right. Everyone is different. As you rightly said, every med school applicant also is different. Some may
Yeah.
not have even done the research work, still they are selected.
Hmm.
And in future, they come on to become very good doctors.
Hmm.
So that doesn't, so yeah. So it was great, Utkarsh, talking to you. It's almost 1 hour we are talking.
Hmm.
And was this a conversational thing or a question answer thing?
No, this is very conversational. This is if this was a med school interview, I would have enjoyed it highly. So thank you for a great conversation.
Great, great, great. That means you must have loved doing this. Okay, so great, Utkarsh. I think I would definitely love to track your journey henceforth for next 4 years because yes, I'll interview again when you appear for your residency interviews also. How does that go? Because eventually, after 4 years or 3 years, you are set to prepare yourself for your residency position.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, all the best for that. And I hope both of us have done some value addition for people out there by sharing our experiences and talking about whatever we know and sharing with people so that they are benefited, if at all, and they're interested. If someone is interested, then this is the path we are trying to show them that this is how they can pursue these things
Yeah,
out
of
there.
course, of course. Thank you so much for a great conversation, and I really hope that anyone that watches this got something valuable out of it. And if you decide to apply to a American med school in the upcoming application cycle, I wish all the best to you. So thank you.
And anything, any information, if at all we know, we will be happy to share with you all if anyone wants to contact. So उत्कर्ष आप हिंदी बोलते हो?
हाँ हाँ हाँ.
और अच्छी हिंदी बोलते हैं, जरा कुछ बताइए हिंदी में आपके experience के बारे में, क्या वेदर चल रहा है अभी यूएस में?
um, आज तो वैसे सनी था पर कल बारिश होने वाली है. पहला स्कूल
हम्म,
का दिन है तो साउंड्स ग्रेट. मतलब फिट होता है कि स्कूल शुरू हो रहा है और बारिश शुरू हो रही है तो
मतलब
या.
शगुन मिल गया आपको इंडिया बोल रहे तो भैया भगवान ने बारिश भेज दी, अच्छा शगुन हो गया है ग्रेट उत्कर्ष, आप हिंदी काफी अच्छी बोलते हैं, मतलब काफी नहीं, बहुत अच्छी बोलते हो
थैंक यू
घर
थैंक
में
यू.
हिंदी बोलते हैं आप लोग सब?
हाँ, हम लोग घर में ज्यादातर हिंदी बोलते
एक काम करिएगा, ये लिंक मैं आपको भेजती हूँ, शेयर कर दीजिएगा अपने दोस्तों को, बोलो देखो मैं
हैं.
कितनी अच्छी anyway, jokes apart, it was great talking to you, Utkarsh, and definitely, as I said, we will be tracking your journey. I would love, if you allow me, we'll talk henceforth also and try to give some value to people out
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much. I
there. Thank
love our conversation. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. Okay, thanks a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
good
Bye.
day. Bye.